We find out that they were funneling cash to power forward communities. That thing is tied to Stacey Abrams. No transparency on that, no accountability. It's just a shell. She had only raised $100. That's all she could raise for her own organization. In December, it was Project Veritas that caught an EPA official spilling the truth on this one. He said this was an insurance policy against Trump winning. Now, what does that mean? So all it was a desperate cash dump before the clock ran out. Now, under the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, they blew the lid off of this thing.
I make of it that they are failing at their promises, and they're looking at those of us who've managed to deliver for Americans, and they're targeting us. I stand accused of helping people register to vote, helping them turn out and vote, helping make certain that families that wanted to lower their energy costs got the equipment and the support they needed. So essentially, they're mad at me for proving that democracy can deliver.
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. All right, Warriors, we're talking about Fani Willis, Fulton County District Attorney, and Stacey Abrams, the two-time defeated person who tried to go up against Brian Kemp but lost twice. We're talking about that today, and these women, both of them caught up in fraudulent situations. Well, before we get into this video, don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe to my channel, hit all notifications so you never miss the video. Watch the video to the end. Let's get into it. You've known that I've been doing several videos about Fani Willis and Stacey Abrams. Let's start off with Fani Willis. Big fanny pack. She's getting into a lot of trouble. And before I get into her, I just got to say, I am so sick and tired of the Democrats always using people who look like me so that whenever anyone has any constructive criticism that's actually fair, they must be saying it because they're racist, a misogynist, or a self-hater, or all the things. I'm probably going to get a couple of comments about, you're not being right. You're a Black woman yourself. You can't say anything about them. They're Black. Why can't I say anything about them? What Fani Willis did with that money that was supposed to help inner city youth, I'm not stealing money from inner city youth. Okay. We always take up for the person, not always, but a certain portion of the Black community does take up for people who are just because they're Black, even though they've done horrible things. I'm for right and wrong on this channel. I don't take up for people when they are clearly in the wrong or the evidence supports that they're in the wrong. And let me just say allegedly for everything in this video so I can cover myself legally. But Fani Willis, yes, there has been a Senate bill that was passed by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, a rhino Republican. You know, I've got my issues with him. President Trump came down here and helped get the man elected. And then that whole shenanigans with the election in 2020. I don't want to go down that road right now, but I got my eye on the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp. But he did sign a couple of bills, that really enables the forces that be that are doing the right thing to go after these crooked politicians that have been set up to go after President Trump. Let's just take a look at some of them. Okay, so this is pretty recent. It says the governor of Georgia has signed Senate Bill 244 into law, which means the Trump legal team could now force Fani Willis to pay their attorney fees in the RICO case he brought against him. Remember that she violated the Open Records Act and the $54,000 in legal fees that she's going to have to pay reportedly. The law states if the disqualification of the prosecuting attorney results in the criminal case being dismissed against the defendant who filed the motion for disqualification due to improper conduct, the defendant who filed the motion for disqualification shall be entitled to an award of all reasonable attorney fees and costs incurred by the defendant in defending the case. The defendant who filed a successful motion for disqualification of a prosecuting attorney based upon the misconduct of such prosecuting attorney shall file a motion for reasonable attorney's fees and costs upon the termination of the underlying criminal case. The judge to whom the criminal case was assigned shall consider such motion for reasonable attorney's fees and costs, and shall award such reasonable attorney's fees and costs as provided under this code section to such defendant. The worst mistake Fani ever made was to go after Trump. She certainly regrets it bigly, hugely, immensely. Okay, because she also violated the Open Records Act as well. So this is something that, and this is Senate Bill 244. And I gotta just say, all of this is happening at the same time. You even got these things going on with Letitia James. Now, Letitia James, I've done videos on her. Another one the demon rats like to use. Again, Black female. They love to play the race card and the gender card. You know, you got these DEI dynamics in the demon rat party, and not saying these women aren't smart. And there's another problem. Now, Governor Brian Kemp, he's the governor of Georgia. That's the one I'm talking about, the one that I say is a rhino. And, you know, President Trump is like, oh, I'm just so happy how things are turning out. District Attorney Willis ordered to pay big fine for violations in Trump case. All right, this was dated recently, very recently. It says Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has been ordered to pay over $54,000 in attorney fees for violating Georgia's Open Records Act, according to court documents. The dispute arose from Willis's office failing to provide records requested by defense attorney Ashley Merchant, who represents Michael Roman, a former campaign and White House aide to President Donald Trump. Roman was indicted alongside Trump in the Georgia election interference case, which Willis brought in 2023 and is currently unresolved. Okay. Friday's ruling represents another setback for Fani Willis and her case against Trump and the other defendants, the outlet noted further. In December, Willis was disqualified from prosecuting the case involving Trump and 18 other co-defendants who are accused of conspiring to overturn Joe Biden's 2020 victory in Georgia. Trump has denied the charges and accused Willis of conducting a politically motivated attack. All right, and it states the Georgia Court of Appeals ruled that the disqualification was necessary due to the appearance of improprieties stemming from Willis's relationship with Nathan Wade, a former special prosecutor on the case. He was forced to resign in October, but she stayed on it. But she filed an appeal in the Georgia Supreme Court in January, arguing that the court was wrong to disqualify her based solely on an appearance of impropriety and absent a filing of an actual conflict of interest or forensic misconduct. In the court order issued on Friday, the judge found that the DA's office had been openly hostile to Merchant's requests for documents, adding they were handled differently than other requests. The judge added that this indicated a lack of good faith. Okay, so she lacked good faith. And now let's just also talk about that. Those are the attorney's fees. Now let's talk about other things concerning her. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp also signed Senate Bill 255, which gives the Senate subpoena power. That means, now let me tell you what this means. They can go after, they can actually request rather, or subpoena witnesses, whistleblowers, subpoena people in the Willis office or who were in her office to get some more information. Okay. So that means that some people can be coming forth with damning information about DA Fani Willis. That's right. And this is a Senate Bill 255. Now, Governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, who we already acknowledged is a rhino, and I got my issues with him, he said that this should be used carefully. Okay, it's just for subpoena power, not to give the Georgia General Assembly, extra duties, but to issue specific subpoena powers in an investigation. So yes, so there could be people coming forth that are giving more information. So this is ongoing. This is ongoing, and it is coming down on Miss Fanny Pack. So I'm going to keep an eye on this and let you guys know everything that is happening. She's already been taken off the case. That was late last year. She's already now looking like she's got to pay these attorney fees. Now they've been given subpoena power for witnesses, whistleblowers, other people who could possibly come forth against her. Fani Willis, girl, you never thought you'd be in this situation. Now let's talk about Stacey Abrams. She is the twice defeated Democrat politician who lost loosely in 2018 by about 55,000 votes. And I got to say, guys, I campaigned for Stacey Abrams. I believed the lies of the media, and I was going backwards. I was becoming more liberal, and I just believed the lies. And I saw that President Trump was supporting Rhino Republican Brian Kemp. So I was like, I can't support him, right? Because Trump is supporting him. And I campaigned for Stacey Abrams. I went door to door. I was beating the pavement and took calls. I was doing everything. And I had a sign, which I was afraid to put in my yard, but I don't like putting political signs in my yard. Anyway, I had the sign though, but I recently got rid of it. Well, a while ago, got rid of it. But I did all that. And then to come to find out, she's involved in all this mess. And I saw the twins movement going on in the Democrat Party. I said, I can't vote for her the second time. Now, she lost by 300,000 votes in 2022. And I helped her lose because I voted for him. And I didn't want to vote for him. But what choice did I have? Look at what we were going up against with everything on the demon rat side with those horrific policies. In any event, she's up against some trouble herself. And let's hear what she had. Now, first, I'm going to show you two older clips. They're not old, but they're older. And then two more recent clips.
One of the ironies of the attack on you, and I'm going to play what he did, was that my understanding is the program at the source of this whole thing is a program to lower costs for people. Do I have that top line correct?
You have it absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm gonna play what he had to say, and then I'm going to ask you to explain what the program is that was such an obvious, ludicrous laugh line for the Republicans there. Take a listen.
$1.9 billion to recently created decarbonization of homes committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her?
Okay, so what is this organization? What is your relation to it, and what does it do?
In 2023 and 2024, I led a program called Vitalizing DeSoto. We worked in a tiny town in South Georgia to demonstrate that by replacing energy inefficient appliances with efficient appliances, you can lower your cost. And in fact, we accomplished that for 75% of the community. They got appliances that are lowering their bills right now. We had one woman who saw her electric bill cut in half from $180 to $98. That's what we delivered. And based on that program, a coalition of organizations, famous organizations, came together and said to the EPA, if we can do this here, we can do this for millions more Americans. Let us invest the money of America in lowering the cost for Americans. And the EPA said, okay, great, go for it.
Now, there was a contract that you've heard about where Stacey Abrams got $2 billion just before we took over, and it was a rush to get her the money, and that was environmental, and nobody knows what she was doing. But $2 billion. If you got 2 million, that's a lot. If you got 200,000, that's a lot. But this was $2 billion was given. Lee, do you want to talk about that? And the other one that was even worse.
EPA has now canceled over $22 billion worth of contracts. $2 billion going to this NGO that Stacey Abrams was tied to. They received only $100 in 2023. And then the Biden administration gave them $2 billion. The director of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund saw his former employer get $5 billion. So $20 billion went to just 8 NGOs, and they're all pass-throughs. And then they were giving it to other entities. Many of them were pass-throughs. And what you have is all these extra middlemen, they're taking their cut. And the taxpayer ends up getting screwed. They're losing out on all this hard-earned money. They can't afford to have the federal government waste. The partnership with Doge and Elon Musk has been incredible at EPA. Their team is very talented. We wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And of course, this mandate from President Trump. to make sure that we identify every last penny, whether we're saving $50,000, $5 million, or $22 billion. We will not rest until every last penny is saved. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
See now why, the demon rats have been screaming at the top of their lungs against Elon Musk. This is not about him having access to information. These people are getting rich off of the backs of taxpayers. These NGOs are pass-throughs. They're literally coming up with a name that sounds helpful. She calls it the Vitalizing DeSoto. DeSoto is a small town in Southwest Georgia of about 120 people. And you can assume that there's more than one person in each household. You know what I mean? Typically, there might be one person in some houses and 5 people in another house. So let's just say 100 people, okay? Not 100 people, 100 households. Each gets energy efficient appliances. You can spend $10,000 on some really nice energy efficient appliances per household. Well, $10,000 times 100 households is like $1 million. And she was given $2 billion. $2 billion. So where did the other $1.9 billion go? You know what I mean? So this woman has profited. Now, you don't need $2 billion. I just illustrated that to you. You don't need $2 billion for this tiny little town in Southwest Georgia, DeSoto, Georgia, which is like 3 hours south of Atlanta. It's in Southwest Georgia. That is crazy. So what did she do with the rest of that money? I'll tell you what she did. Oh, she had herself a good time. Reports show that she bought new homes. And I'm going to say allegedly, I don't want to get in trouble. But it doesn't take, anyone can tell you, anybody, you don't have to be smart to figure out, it doesn't take $2 billion to give people energy efficient appliances. Demon rats would do something that appears very nice, but it's never good enough to make a difference in those people's lives. Or they'll give you some free food, up your welfare benefits just enough to make you think they're doing something for you, give you some energy efficient appliances, all the while your neighborhoods and your schools are trash because they want to keep you ignorant. They want to keep people dependent. Okay, now we're going to check out some more recent clips. Let's just watch.
April 2024, the Biden-Harris administration, via the EPA, handed over $7 billion of your money to a ghost called the United Climate Fund. This was all part of a $20 billion jackpot from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. That was tacked in and tucked in so you couldn't really find it in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act that had nothing to do with reducing inflation. Nothing. Then the mask slips off. We find out that they were funneling cash to power forward communities. That thing is tied to Stacey Abrams. No transparency on that. No accountability. It's just a shell. She had only raised $100. That's all she could raise for her own organization. In December, it was Project Veritas that caught an EPA official spilling the truth on this one. He said this was an insurance policy against Trump winning. Now, what does that mean? So all it was a desperate cash dump before the clock ran out. Now, under the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, they blew the lid off of this thing. The $20 billion was stashed at Citibank. It's being clawed back now by the government. It isn't incompetence. It's calculated theft.
Georgia politics. The governor, Brian Kemp, signed a bill this week that outlined the Georgia General Assembly's subpoena powers. The Georgia Senate opened an investigation into you this year, alleging that a group you worked with improperly received government grants. You are, in some way, part of this group of people who are being targeted for their politics. What do you make of this?
I make of it that they are failing at their promises and they're looking at those of us who've managed to deliver for Americans and they're targeting us. I stand accused of helping people register to vote, helping them turn out and vote, helping make certain that families that wanted to lower their energy costs got the equipment and the support they needed. So essentially, they're mad at me for proving that democracy can deliver, and they would rather distract than actually do their jobs. This is an administration that is being supported by a complicit Congress, and they are doing their level best to distract and destroy rather than to actually deliver. And I am one of the people they've targeted. Unfortunately, what that means is that rather than us being engaged in conversations and more importantly, in the work of serving the people, we've got to focus some of our attention on fighting against scurrilous accusations that are grounded in nothing but bad faith and I think fear, because we keep coming pretty close to proving to everyone that their lies cannot stand.
Okay, so here is MSNBC. You know they're not a reputable news network, in my opinion. They're a propaganda network for the demon rats. They don't even hide their bias. He even used their anchor person right there, said they're targeting you. That's the language that is someone who is already biased and not an unbiased network. But in any way, I mean, the demon rats love to pretend like they're doing so much. But they're not targeting her. They're looking for waste, fraud, and abuse, and found plenty on her side. And she was the 2022 gubernatorial candidate. I told you she ran in 2018. She lost by 55,000 votes in 2018, lost by 300,000 votes in 2022. She didn't do any good. It was like, wait a minute. I think people woke up and said, these people are up for things that are not right. So this is what the demon rats are up to. Every time they get caught doing something, they're saying they're being targeted. Remember, when they say something, they're really talking about themselves. So what she's really saying, if you're wise and have discernment, they're really saying that we are targeting them, the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, Donald Trump, to be particular. Okay, he was being targeted. They're being found out for fraud. These NGOs are just pass-throughs to get to, it's like they go to this fund or shell company, pass through, or whatever you want to call it, and make a U-turn back into the politicians' pockets. She's got money now. She was only able to raise $100 in her own organization. That's crazy. She has lost all credibility. I mean, only $100. They had to come at the last minute, right before President Trump got into the White House, and just bail this woman out, and to make it look like she really used this money for noble purposes. Gave energy appliances to about 100 households in a rural Southwest Georgia town. Yeah, they really stink. And this subpoena power that the Senate, Georgia Republicans are going to be able to have subpoena power to go after, and I hate to use the word go after, but subpoena people to find out really what's going on with them, what's going on with Fani Willis, what's going on with Stacey Abrams, and more information is going to be uncovered. More fraud. And that is what they desperately hate. Who knows what distraction that the demon rats are going to come up with next. We have to be able to see that this is all political theater. You even had Ben and Jerry's, one of the founders of Ben and Jerry's, Ben Cohen, interrupted RFK hearing. They just love chaos. They're going to come up with something that's like a distraction from the fact that they're the ones not doing anything. They got to come up with an emergency of some sort, and they'll even sink as low as manufacturing one. It doesn't have to be real. Democrats don't care anything about what's real. You think they care? Come on. If you believe that, then I got some swamp land I want to sell you. I'll sell it to you now. Oh, it's wonderful prime land. We got to be able to look at what's actually happening in our lives and compare that to what the demon rats are saying. They are full of it. They are full of it. And the veil has been lifted from people's eyes. They are being exposed for the fraudsters that they really are. Now, President Trump isn't perfect, but in a few days, he went all around the Middle East, UAE. He went to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and came back with over $1 trillion in investments for America. Because over there, you've got not billionaires, you've got trillionaires. Okay. And this is money that he's doing this for us. Okay. He's doing this for us. And someone else is going to say they're going to focus on the plane that Qatar wants to give him and all of that, just overlooking the fact that prices are actually going down. gas, food, eggs have come down. Things are coming down, becoming more affordable. And now they want to just make up another emergency. Watch them. Watch them. It's all a distraction. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe to my channel, hit all notifications so you never ever miss a video that I post. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America, and march on, warriors.